my organization and those that we represent, as well as local governments. Therefore, localizing the implementation of the NAP is within the mandate of the implementation of the National Action Plan. So far, the localization process is happening in 5 districts. We started piloting it in 2012 in the district of Dokolo, and after successful implementation, it's been rolled out in the districts of Bushenyi, Lira, Kasese, and more recently, Gulu. What did we set out to achieve? What did we set out to address with localization? As civil society in Uganda, we wanted to contribute to addressing the following challenges. 1, to decentralize and institutionalize the implementation of the NAP. Uganda implements a decentralization policy. So decentralizing implementation of the NAP was within the national policy of decentralization. And through that, then we would promote participation of local level actors in policy discussions. Number 2, we wanted to put a halt, or to contribute to putting a halt on escalation of gender-based violence in the country, and specifically sexual violence in districts that had just come out of conflict, but even in other districts where conflict ended more than 10 years ago. We also wanted to address the low levels of awareness among the implementers. In the 5 chosen local governments where localization happens, the NAP was not known at all by the district leaders, not at all. We were also concerned by the slow progress on the implementation of the NAP and the total lack of action within the local governments. And you can't blame them, because how do you implement what you don't know about? There was also inadequate funding of the NAP by the central government. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development in Uganda has the mandate to oversee implementation of the NAP. But it is a ministry that is allocated about 0.05% of the national budget. So it's a very small amount of money that would usually go into salaries and overhead costs and utilities, and there is nothing left for programs. We also wanted to address inadequate coordination of peace-building efforts and GBV interventions within local governments. You would have different players in a specific district, selecting their corner and going and doing their thing without the knowledge of other players. Nobody knew who was doing what. And then you would also have, the development partners. They arrive from Kampala or from abroad. They go into a district and do their thing and go back. So the localization was meant to bring all those actors together within the local government. I will talk a little bit about the process in Uganda, the localization process. It is customized. It's customized not only for Uganda, but for each district as a community. A district in Uganda is a community. It's a community of people who share the same language, people who share the same culture. So it addresses their local issues. And as I say, it focuses on the National Action Plan. So it has the elements of the Goma Declaration that focus on gender-based violence, and specifically sexual violence. It is a civil society ministry of gender partnership. Although civil society initiated it, we partner with the Ministry of Gender to implement it. We need the Ministry of Gender to go out and speak about it, but now it is their policy. So we need them to be at the forefront to work with us. It is a capacity building process. It's not just about awareness raising. It builds knowledge of 1325, of 1820, of the Goma Declaration, of the National Constitution, and Uganda has one of the most gender-sensitive constitutions in the world, but also of the local laws and local policies that promote gender equality and women's empowerment. The output of the localization process is a definite commitment of the local authority to promote women's peace and human security, because that is our concern. It's a participatory process. It's a multi-stakeholder process. It involves local level women's groups, It involves teachers of primary schools and secondary schools and colleges. It involves members of the business community. It involves the NGOs working in the district. It involves religious and cultural leaders. It involves the government bureaucrats within the local governments at the district level and lower levels within the sub-counties. And it also involves the political leaders of the local governments. In fact, we make sure that the district chairperson, who is the political head of the district and controls the budget and chairs the district council, chairs the localization workshops. We make sure he even sits, he chairs the task force that is responsible for drafting the outcome, the output of the localization process. Our process enhances ownership of the output and outcomes, and so makes the leaders take pride in it. We are usually amazed at the end of the process by the excitement within the leaders. And we make sure that the process, from the beginning to launch time, it is supported by radio programs. The radio programs introduce the localization at every level to ensure that information on the process, on the product, and on the implementation is known by the public, and especially women. So I'm going to give you just a short overview on the local action plan. We call it LAP. Local action plan. Because in Uganda we said there is the global 1325. Then there is the national action plan. So why not have a local action plan? So the result, the immediate output of our localization process is a local action plan. And the local action plan has the elements, the required elements to make it executable. It's very easy to work with, easy to use, easy to implement. It focuses on local issues that undermine women's peace and human security. Things are issues of land rights, issues of rape and defilement of little children, displacement of widows and orphans, promoting girls' education, sustained participation of women at the local level, improvement in health service delivery. In Uganda, these are things that cause conflict. Like issues of land rights, they cause conflict, and they escalate in post-conflict situations. But it also articulates strategic actions to address these local issues. It is drafted by a multi-stakeholder task force, which is selected by all the participants of the localization workshops. And this is another committee that the chairperson chair. Each district organizes a big launch event for their local action plan. And members of the public are welcome to come and listen in. And this launch event is also supported by a radio program on which the chairman of they are usually men, the chairperson of the district goes on radio and explains what the local action is about, and also the roles of different players. It is approved by the district council. There is no policy that can be respected at the local level or by the central government unless it is approved by the district council. We also translate it into the local language so that it can be used by local women's groups and village chiefs. And it has an M&A framework. So what has been the value added by our process? It provides a framework within which to address the issues that undermine women's peace and human security, especially gender-based violence. It has enabled harmonization of different initiatives and actions of different players. What has been amazing is that each of the districts that is implementing localization, they have included a budget line within the annual budget. Although they may allocate very small amounts of money, but there is a budget line for the implementation of the lab. And the good thing is that if they use their resources very well and use them up, in the next year, they can ask for more money from central government. Then they have also developed standard operating procedures, each of these districts, to address gender-based violence interventions. The standard operating procedures specify they have two routes. One is for the local implementers, and the other one is for the development partners that come into the district. So if a new agency comes into the district and they want to do work on gender-based violence, they are presented with the lab, and the standard operating procedures tells them exactly how they should go about it. If you are an implementer like a police officer, the standard operating procedures specify once somebody, a victim of GBV, comes to report a case, this is the way you handle it. A health worker, if you receive a victim of gender-based violence at the health facility, this is the way you do it, and links the health worker with the police, the court system. So it's a very efficient procedure, and we are very pleased with that one. It has also increased consciousness of women's rights across the board, increased political will to address women's violations, increased reporting, and what has surprised us, 2 districts have reported reduced corruption by the police regarding the cases of GBV. Because previously, GBV victims would have to pay the police to persuade them to investigate, to arrest a suspect. So we are very pleased with this. It has released very high energy among the local leaders. The lady in the room usually get amazed at how much is within their power to actually, and what they control, and what they can release to improve the situation of women in the locality. And it is helping to build expertise in the women peace and security effort. So as I conclude, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make 3 recommendations. Because we have found that the localization program in Uganda is a good practice and a good strategy for implementation of 1325. It is high impact and a smart use of resources. So we would like to see the Ministry of Gender in Uganda take the lead in its replication. Uganda has 112 districts. Civil society started this effort in 2012. So far we have only done 5 districts. It would take us 50 years to cover the entire country. So we need the Ministry of Gender to take it on. 2, we hope the UN system can support it, and support the efforts of civil society, and support even ministries that are willing to replicate this effort. And number 3, the Uganda Action Plan now is due for review. So we would want to see that the localization program is actually used to inform new strategies during the review. So once again, I thank the government of Australia for financing it, and the permanent commission of Uganda. Thank you.